So Valve's new game, Deadlock or Project 8, has been making some headlines. People have been talking about it. It's been leaking everywhere. That is to be expected because they have opened the playtest to anybody on your friends list that you invite if you're already in the playtest. So it's just growing day after day. But there is a ton to discuss about it. There's a ton to talk about what the future of this is, about what Valve is even doing and trying to make sense of it all. And that's what I'm gonna try and do in this video, talk about what's happening and where this is headed. By the way, if you're new here, hi, I'm Mug Thief, welcome. And if you're not new here, hey, thanks for coming back. So yes, Deadlock is everywhere. It's leaking. People are talking about it. Tom Warren over at The Verge published an article breaking NDA, which, you know, there's something to be discussed there on whether it's a real NDA or it isn't an NDA or the ethics of journalism. Check out a recent video for more on that. But basically, there's a lot of information out there, including that article, that I do not recommend, not because I don't want you to learn about the game or something, but because I think it does a really poor job of representing the game. He basically played like 2 matches. He has no idea what the game is about. Let me just say it that way. And as you can see from the Outrun 2 footage in the background, I am not going to break NDA. I am not going to show you anything about this game because I've played a lot of it, and I want to keep playing it. And Tom Warren got banned for talking about it. So I think that by saying that I don't want to get banned, my feelings on the game are pretty clear, and from here on out, I need to talk about it as if I know nothing. And that's fine because there's a lot of stuff to talk about with Deadlock outside of like the game and its mechanics and stuff like that. There will be plenty of time to talk about that later on. For now, what is Valve doing? So again, interesting video that I have to do here, but let me say a couple of things. Deadlock is the new game from the mind of Dota and Dota 2, Ice Frog. So that should give you a pretty good idea of what this game is. You might have already heard, since this has been public knowledge outside of the NDA and everything for a while, that it's a combination of a shooter and a MOBA. But I think that the order of those things and how they're presented never made a lot of sense because it's by Ice Frog. If anything, it's going to be a combination of a MOBA and a shooter. That is the order, that is the priority. But it is really exciting to think about it if you're a person into that side of the world, that Ice Frog is a very revered developer. You know, coming up with Dota originally is a big deal. Being signed on to Valve for Dota 2 is a big deal. And giving him a whole team to work on a new project, Ice Frog has to truly believe that this is not just a different sort of project to accompany Dota. In some capacity, they need to believe that there is an evolution of Dota to be made with Deadlock. But what Valve is doing around the game is what's really interesting. So as I said at the top of the video, if you want to play Deadlock, it's not that difficult. If you just look around the internet, I'm sure you can find somebody that's going to send you an invitation into the playtest, and then you can just play the game and figure it out for yourself. If I'm not mistaken, right now playtests are running for 11 hours per day in each of the regions, so there's plenty of time to play the game, to get familiar with it, to enjoy it. However, the game has never been announced formally. The game technically doesn't exist. Deadlock is basically operating under Fight Club rules. The first rule of Deadlock is you don't talk about it, and we all know the second rule. And people who are talking about it are getting banned. Videos that are going up are getting taken down. At least here initially with a very small sample size, but I will say that it looks from the graphs that a lot of the people who are playing Deadlock are choosing to continue to play Deadlock, despite the fact that they can't talk about it to people, or at least they can't do so without risking being banned and losing access to the game. So they're mostly just talking about it in the Discord server for the game that you can only access if you're in the playtest. They're continuing to play despite the fact that there is obviously no progression or anything like that in the game. Early in development, this is not a finished game. There's a ton of stuff that is not how it should be presented. Specifically, there's a lot of aesthetic things. There's a lot of designs for characters, models, textures, and like overall final design decisions on characters that are not there. You're playing truly something that is somewhere between a beta and an alpha, which is an early game. There is no real hook to this. There is no permanent progression. Nothing is going to stay in your stats. There is nothing like that. And despite that, there are records of people who have played the game already for 400 hours, for 200 hours. There's people who have played it for 40 hours that maybe are talking into a microphone right now. So this is where it gets interesting. If the product that they have on their hands is already good enough to convince people to keep playing it, why keep everything under wraps? Why have this huge open secret? Steam, Valve, are the first people that are aware of how much buzz there is around the game. They are aware of how many videos they're having to take down. They are aware of how many players they have every day when they see the charts on Steam. They run Steam. They know that the other day, this game peaked at like the 40th most played game on Steam despite not existing. So why are they just keeping it all under wraps? Why is it all a hush-hush secret? And I think there's two important reasons for it. The first one is that I think that if you don't actually play the game, right now, you don't understand what it is. And I do respect the right of the developers and Valve as the publisher, I guess, of deciding on their own terms how they want to present the game to the world. And they have a certain trust that people who are in the playtest and are playing the game will get a sense of it. And what they can spread through word of mouth is limited, be that positive or negative, versus having a bunch of videos get out there that maybe don't really explain, don't really show the game in a way that's going to look good to a majority of people. And we've seen examples of that. Some of the earlier leaks of Deadlock included people being really dumb. So they would, and I can't show this, but they would pick a character in the game and run around the equivalent of a Nexus tower from League of Legends, right? Like one of around your base, and then just shoot at inactive models and punch the air. And then that would get 3 million views on Twitter and about 4,000 comments with each their own respective views and likes of people saying, this looks mid, this looks like trash, why are they making this? Valve sucks, I hope Valve doesn't exist anymore, Valve should disappear. Hashtag fix TF2, right? So that sucks. That's not what you want to present. You want to have more of an organized front for a game that, if it's going to be a MOBA, is going to be pretty complicated and have a lot of things to explain and have a really high skill floor to get into it. So if I had to guess, that's why they want to control the media that's getting out around the game, so that they can show it to people in the way that they want to, which is weird because Valve sometimes does a good job at that, sometimes they don't. There is also another option, and keep in mind that all of the options I'm talking about are mutually inclusive. They can all be partially true or all be true at the same time. This is their organic marketing push. What's a better way to get out word of mouth if you are confident or testing, but still slightly confident in your game, than to completely limit what information can get out outside of your game and make people want to get in there? Because you're guaranteeing that people who want to get in are probably more curious than the average person just browsing Steam and sees a new game that's free to play. They probably have some sort of vested interest in whatever you're presenting here. So there's a better chance that they're going to have some margin, not judge the game in 30 minutes or in 2 matches, and actually give it a fair shake. And then that word of mouth from that person as they invite their friends to play the game with them is going to organically grow hype for the game as more and more people become interested. They play it, they like it, and they invite more people. And that should be ramping up to some sort of more public playtest, which I don't think, almost said something I shouldn't say. Like, I get it, I get why, but it's so dumb that I have to say that I almost said something I shouldn't say. You can go play this game right now and come to your own conclusions. We just can't discuss it outside of like the Discord server. And then there is the third piece of the puzzle, which is this is just the team at Valve, and we do know that teams at Valve have quite a lot of liberty to kind of do whatever they want and test things out and pitch projects and games. They're kind of like the utopic version of what people thought you could do at a studio with infinite money, including some of the downsides of that. We are very aware of how they only focus on what they want to. We've seen some of their games become abandoned, but they basically have infinite resources. It's kind of well known that Valve employees are basically royalty within the game industry. They live well, they get paid well, they have great conditions, and they get to play in this like tech utopia industry place where you get to work on things because you want to and pitch cool stuff. And the biggest problem that it seems from the outside, very alleged, that the biggest problem that they have is that they keep testing and pitching new things and they're just not good enough, or they just can't find something that's really special or captures the energy that they want to stand out. At least from the things we've heard over the years of internally, you know, we worked on this game for 2 to 3 years, but in the end it just wasn't fun. It didn't fit with what we wanted to present. It wasn't up to the standard of quality of Valve, blah, 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 lots of different things of that nature. And then those projects disappear. And I do wonder, and would be incredibly sad, if this is just a test run for the game that could potentially determine that it's going to stay where it is right now. Unannounced, going nowhere, a cool playtest that people poured years and years of their lives into, that some of us will get to thoroughly enjoy, and then it won't come out. It won't come out and become what it could become. And that's the scary one. But it's so strange what Valve is doing here. This entire process of the worst kept secret within video games has me perplexed. And I know that in today's world, it doesn't matter what you say, you're going to get attacked by rabid fanboys of the opposite ideals everywhere. So I'm going to say that I like Valve. I think Valve is a pretty good company when it comes to their actual video games. No matter how rare they are, how few of them they make. Half-Life Alyx is the most recent big game that they've done, and that was incredible. Millions of people play Dota 2 every day. Counter-Strike is still huge. Team Fortress 2 still exists in whatever state it is, but it's a testament to the quality of Team Fortress 2 that people still absolutely adore that game, no matter how many years pass. Its player base is incredibly dedicated, and its community is just out of their mind. So there is a certain Valve quality to their games, and as a company, I think that while they have areas of improvement, especially with the live service side of things, in some cases, I've heard mixed reports on people depending on which game they play. I like the idea of Valve coming out with this game. I like them doing this, and I trust them to do a good job at it. This entire rollout has me just confused. So what is their plan? Where are we headed to? Should we be expecting a big update on this? Should we be expecting a more public playtest? Should we be expecting an announcement? Should we be expecting something? And my personal money is that right now, with how many people are playing the game, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. They have to keep rolling with it. They have to keep the playtest open. They have to slowly start opening up the game. Maybe at some point they'll restrict it a bit, but they have to keep this functioning as they keep working on it, and it needs to actually come out and be a thing that just keeps growing from here. I don't think you can just go back from the state that they're currently in. I think that would be madness. But that is just my humble opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you've played the game, if you're interested in the game. What's your take on this entire thing? It's really so unique and weird in the industry to see this happening, and I just wanted to talk about it a bit more of a chill video today. I've been Mug Thief, thank you for watching. Thanks to the patrons up on the $1 patron wall, including new patrons. You're welcome. Oh, and by the way, the Discord now works. There is a patron Discord for now. The integration is there. There's a post up on the patron. Until I get my bearings and make things work, it's only for patrons, but we'll open it up to everybody and have a patron only section later on. So check out the patron for that. And that's great if any of you need to get in touch with me over the wall, or how I'm going to be reading your names in an upcoming video, which I'll post a snippet of also this week. So thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you again very soon.